Hi guys. Thank you very much for joining this first episode of the Flutter series or Flutter Sundays, as we call it. So this is GDG Accra hosting this series. Shadrach Inusa, and I'm the current GDG Accra lead. We listen to your cry. We listen to what you guys said you want, and we are giving it to you today. And this series is beginning today. This is the maiden episode of the maiden edition, and I'm sure you guys are going to really love it. So I have here with me Bright Etornam, who is going to take us through the setup, the basics, then everything. He's going to take us through the following week again, and other weeks, we are going to have a GDE, Flutter GDE joining us. So this is going to be an awesome session. It's going to be an awesome series. I promise you, it's going to be very fruitful, and you are going to learn a lot from this series. So without wasting much time, let me just quickly invite Etornam, Bright. Yes, so awesome. So Bright, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm handing the wheel over to you now. Take us through wherever you want to
Okay.
take us. Yes, and show us whatever you have in stock. All right. So over to you, right?
Oh, okay. So yeah. So good evening, everyone. My name is Etonam, and I'm a software engineer at Ghana Tech Lab, and also I work at Go Technologies. So Go Technologies is basically a delivery company um, based in Ghana here in Accra, and we do deliveries like within Accra, like for now. So basically, that's a bit about myself. I've been doing Flutter for professionally for uh, like more than 2 years, and but I started some point in 2017. Um, yeah. So basically, today we'll be looking at what is Flutter, why Flutter, the installation of Flutter, and where to find help or resources for Flutter. So these are some open source projects that I have, and they are on my GitHub repository. You can always find the source code there. Currently, I'm actively working on the first one here. I call it Tasky. So when you go to my repo, I think you should see something like Tasky mobile app and Tasky backend service. So the backend and the Flutter app are both open source. So basically, what is Flutter? Yeah, so Flutter is Google's UI toolkit to build beautiful, intuitively compiled applications for mobile, web, and desktop from one single code base. Now, when you say toolkit, basically, let's say you are building a house, right? When starting, you don't go and manufacture your own hammer, your own saw, or your own wood. So basically, you have a toolbox that contain the hammer, the saw, the nails, and everything that you need, right? You don't have to manufacture all those things. So basically, that's what Flutter is. Flutter is it's a toolkit, so it already has some things already inbuilt, something like the button, your text, like various things that you need to build your applications. You don't need to have to build it from scratch or from ground up. Yeah. So this is basically an overview of the architecture of Flutter, right? So we have the framework, which is that. So basically, Flutter is written with Dart. So that is the language. Flutter is the framework. That also has other frameworks like Angular Dart. I know there's Jaguar, there's Angel, there's yeah. I mean there are more. there are lots of other frameworks for that, but Flutter is, I'll say, the well-known one. So when you look at the framework, we have on top here, we have Material and Cupertino. So basically, Material is for Android. As you know, Android uses Material design, right? And iOS uses the Cupertino design. So these are the two main design styles that we have on top. Then underneath it, everything is a widget. I mean, you always hear this statement in Flutter that everything is a widget. Yeah. So underneath these two styles, everything else is just a widget. And with this widget, they need to be rendered to the screen. So that's why we have the rendering next. And below the rendering, we have your animation, your painting, and your gestures. So your tap and the swipe, and everything. Even when you type, you want to perform an animation, or when you type, you want to draw something on the screen, or you want to show a new widget on the screen. Basically, that's what happens on this layer. Then we have the foundation. So the foundation is like the a group of services that you need in Flutter. For example, like determine whether your app is running on debug or production, whether your app is in release mode or debug mode, other services. Yeah, a lot. Yeah. Then underneath this whole framework, we have the engine. So the engine is basically written in C and C++ using the Scare engine. So, and Scare is an open source engine basically, and it is mostly used in developing games. So you just imagine using a gaming engine to develop like normal apps. That is why Flutter runs at 60 FSP, like without any issue. I mean, like it doesn't eat up your CPU when it is running at a 60 FSP, unlike other frameworks or platforms, which you start realizing that your phone is getting hot or it's using a lot of battery and all that. No, I mean Flutter has this like inbuilt or by default. So inside this engine, you have your service protocols, your compositions, your platform channels. So with the platform channel, basically, imagine you want to implement a feature that that particular feature is not yet available in Flutter itself. So let's say there's no library or package or plugin for this particular custom or native feature that you want, right? So let's say, for example, there's no plugin for what should I use? Something like camera, right? So camera is basically more of a hardware thing. So let's say there are no plugins in Flutter for camera, although they are, right? But let's just assume there's none, and you want to use the camera. So basically, you can write your own custom code inside your Java, your Flutter, your Java, your Kotlin, or your Swift or Objective C, right? Then using platform channel, you can call those functions from this native code into Flutter itself, so that you can able to trigger these functions from your Flutter code, and it will run like all right. So that's basically the use of the platform channel. And it has other users, like a lot of users. I mean, it helps you basically interact with the native side of your code. That's the Android and iOS, or web, yeah, web or Windows. Then we have the Dart isolate. So isolate is basically like threads, right? So in Android app development, we have various threads. We have the UI threads. We have the background threads. There are lots of threads, right? And in Flutter, everything runs on one thread. That's a UI thread, because, as I said, it's a UI toolkit. But you have the ability to also spin up your own thread or your own isolate. So these threads are basically called isolates. So, for example, if you want to do something and you don't want to do it on the main thread, that's the UI thread, you can basically spin up a new thread and delegate that thread to a particular service or a particular activity. And when it is done, it can easily pass it back to the UI thread or the main thread. Then we have the rendering, system events, the Dart runtime management, the frame scheduling, the asset resolution, frame pipeline, and text layout. I mean, these are all inside the engine. Then underneath this engine, we have the embedder. So we have the rendering surface setup, the native plugin, we have your app packaging, then we have the thread setup, as I said earlier, then the events loop. So what platform do Flutter support? So currently, you can create Android, iOS apps with Flutter. You can create web applications. That's a single. You can create a single page applications with Flutter, and also desktop applications. That's for Windows, Mac, and Linux, and all from the same like code base. So the first three, they are currently all in the stable channel. So Flutter has different channels, right? So basically, it has the master, the dev, the beta, and the stable. So the stable is, should I say, what you usually use, because before something gets to stable, it means that it has been tested, it has run through various test cases, and it's working well before it's pushed to stable. So actually, you work with stable, and currently you can develop for all these three platforms on the stable. Embedded system is still something that it works all right, but I would say it's still in experiments, because I know it's not really in stable now, or it doesn't mention much in Flutter, but people still build applications on Raspberry Pi and other stuff using Flutter. So why that? I mean, Flutter uses that as its language. So why that? I mean, that's a client optimized language for fast apps on any platform. And looking at a more technical definition, that is an object-oriented, class-defined, garbage-collected language using C style syntax that transcompiles optionally to JavaScript. So basically, what this, if you look at that syntax, right, and if you know C, or if you've seen a C code before, you realize that there's a lot of similarities between these two codes, right? And there's the C family languages, which is C of C++, C Sharp, Java. But again, I think JavaScript is somehow also regarded as one. Yeah, so if you look at all these languages, right, they all look a lot similar. Like they have a lot of similar properties, or they are sharing a lot of similar features, and that also has most of this or all these features, right? So I mean, moving from the Java background to that is pretty easy, since it's technically like alike. I mean, like you will not get a lot of differences. Maybe some keywords will change, but usually the syntax looks like a lot the same as Swift from the Swift side, and from JavaScript and others. And so that has been made in such a way that you can easily move from any other language that you code regularly to that without having to let's say, follow a very steep learning curve. So why use Flutter for fast development? Now, Flutter uses the declarative type of coding, right? So unlike, let's say, Android app development. The number one that uses the XML, so you have to basically write your code, your UI with your XML. Then you use your Java code or your Kotlin code to call or to basically map this UIs to your code. And with iOS, the storyboard where you can easily drag and drop your UIs to a board or a canvas and basically just draw your UI before you link it to your Swift or your Objective-C code. So that Flutter is not like that. Flutter is basically, should I say, your code is your UI. I mean, there's no storyboard, there's no XML with it. Whatever you type is whatever you see. And due to this, it helps you code faster. I mean, you don't have to code finish your UI before or finish your XML before you go and connect it to your code. I mean, like everything is basically code, so you just keep coding. And also, there's this feature, the hot reload and hot restart. So you can easily, as you're coding, you are seeing the changes in near real time on your phone screen. So if you type, let's say, at inside a text field, you'll see that at like appear in your app on your phone at once. Then it is expressive and flexible. So as I said, because it's declarative, it's Flutter gives you the power over the whole UI. So you have power over every pixel on your phone, which means that you can actually manipulate every pixel on your phone. Due to this, you can actually draw anything literally in Flutter. That's the thing. It gives you that ability to actually draw. So if you have a very custom widget that is not available in Flutter, you can actually draw it yourself or create it yourself and then use it. Native apps. So basically, you get Flutter actually compiles to native code. So it compiles to native ARM code, so which means that it's actually like, should I say, machine code for your phone. So unlike other platforms that is basically bundled, it's basically bundled and running on a bridge or something like that, Flutter actually compiles to native code. So with this, that's why it makes it run fast. I mean, it sometimes it's even difficult to realize the difference between a Flutter app and a native app due to the performance. And with the hot reload, which I just explained, you can as you type, you basically see the changes right on your phone screen. Then high performance. Yeah, I think I also explained this because Flutter uses 60 FSP. I mean, it has a very high performance. You can actually develop complex applications or complex UI with it without it affecting the performance of the app or anything. Flutter APIs are very consistent. I mean, there's one thing that the Flutter team, they've really tried a lot, making sure that whatever they start with, they maintain it. They don't have to always like change stuff. I think recently in Flutter 2.0, that's when they made a lot of changes and they've duplicated most of the old stuff, something like the buttons or how you call some particular widget. They've changed those things, but I mean, they've also made provisions in such a way that your ID or your text editor can tell you that, okay, this has been deprecated, and just with a click of button on an icon, it will change the widget for you by yourself, so you don't have to go through that stress. And consumable kit, as I said, you can actually draw anything you want in Flutter. I mean, when you go to Twitter, for example, and you type something like Flutter, you are searching through the Flutter feed, you can see people drawing very abstract drawings, I would say, or art. People actually, yeah, it's art basically because I mean, what they draw with Flutter is really beautiful. And I think there was this one guy who actually framed his. So the code, the UI generated, he framed it and placed it inside this room because it was very nice. I mean, you have the power to craft anything you want in Flutter. So these are some resources that you can basically use to learn Flutter. And for me, usually I always tell people that, I mean, if you are approaching Flutter, you should approach it first from the language point of view before you move to the framework. So I always advise people to learn the Dart language first. I mean, not that you go so much deep into the Dart language, but you should know at least the basics, your if statement, your loops, the types, and other stuff, the collections, the list. And so basically this things helps you build your app very easily. You don't have to, I mean, some people know how to build their UI, but they can't really implement the logic behind the app, which is not really great. I mean, so I always advise people to learn the language first, then you can pick up Flutter, and it makes it even faster for you to learn it, since um, there are some shortcuts in Flutter which the Dart language gives you, like for example using a list inside a column. So you can basically use a list to generate different widgets inside a widget called column. There's effective Dart, there's bootstrapping Dart, and there are some also YouTube courses which you can take. And so there's also Flutter Ghana's and Slack channel. I mean, you can, if you're facing a problem with your Flutter code or you need any help, you can always post your questions or whatever you have over there, and like someone will always get back to you. The same as the Flutter Africa Telegram channel. I mean, we've grown a lot. So imagine you know have developers all over Africa who are actually ready to help you with any problem you face. So let's build. So this is what we are building, right? We are not going to add logic to it. So it's just going to be a UI build for you to get constant with the UIs. And as I build this, I will also explain the widgets, like what they do, how to basically use them and understand. So we'll not implement the main logic behind it. So it's just going to be UI implementation of this. But before that, we'll first have to set up and install Flutter. So that's it for the slide coming. So so basically, I have to start my virtual machine. Okay, so let me share the screen. So basically, this is a virtual machine. So I'm using a Mac, but I want to do the installation process for Windows, since I realize that a lot of people use Windows, and also if there's enough time, we can look at Linux and then Mac. So basically, before anything, you probably have to So we are going to download some things. First, your editor, but before that, it's much better if we just follow the guidelines. So this is Flutter's main website, flutter.dev. So we can go to the get started. And yeah, so these are the options we have. We have Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and Chrome OS. So I will just select Windows. And then, yeah. So this is, so basically download the Flutter SDK. I think this is going to take some time. Yeah, so as this is downloading, there's some things we also need. Our text editor, right? So I'm using VS Code. So let's search for VS Code. Oh, okay. So you can use VS Code or Android Studio. But Android Studio is a little heavy, so I want to probably go with VS Code. So I can easily add that download also to it. Oh, okay. So I think I've already downloaded VS Code. Oh, okay. So next. So I can add it to. I can add it here. I can also add it to my Spara. Yeah. So as it is also installing, we also need the Android SDK. All right. So with that, when you go to the Android Studio website, I mean, when you download Android Studio, it will help you install the SDK tool, or so you can basically install Android Studio from here, or you can go ahead and download just the command line. That's the command line tool over here. And I've already done that. So, okay, this is done. So just finish it. I've already done that, so that's over here. So I think I have to move it somewhere. I've forgotten. You know, let's just download Android Studio. So I think the Flutter SDK is done. So we can unzip it. It's pretty slow. Okay. So let me just issue the command to download Android Studio whilst we wait. Okay, so we have this, and I'm just going to I'm going to should I move it? All right. So I'll open another window. Go to my C, and over here, so usually this is what I like to do. I like to always separate my development stuff. So I'll create a folder called development, and then I'll, I'll extract the Flutter SDK to this folder. So it's going to take some time. It's going to take so much time. Today. So, okay. The address is almost done. Okay, it's done. So as this copies, I'm go back to the download. So over here, so I can easily just double tap on it. This is still copying. Okay, so the first time is always going to take some time because setting up the environment is a little tricky. So that's next. Let's keep on. Yeah. So it's basically installing. Whilst the SDK is also copying. Yeah. So when you look on the Flutter.dev's website, I mean, it has lots of stuff here. So it's like Flutter for iOS developers, Flutter for React Native developers, Flutter for web developers, Flutter for Xamarin Forms, introduction to declarative UI. Yeah. And then, so there's basically a lot here which you can always use. There are samples and tutorials also, which you can always follow. There's a code lab here to help you. There are tutorials. There's a cookbook also here. So looking at the code lab, there's writing your first app, part 1. The part 2 is also here. The first web application, and building beautiful UIs with Flutter. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of tutorials here which you can follow. So I mean, you have to make this your home because there's a lot of knowledge here. I mean, people usually ask questions, and later on you realize that the answer you are actually looking for is here. But because people don't usually visit this site, they like they hardly know. And also the API reference I actually use here a lot. The API reference a lot. I think this is just Microsoft Edge issue. It shouldn't have come like this. Now, basically, all the Flutter APIs are actually listed here. So you can actually learn about any of the APIs here. You can like read more about it over here, the api.flutter.dev. So let's see whether, okay, this is done. Then let's start it. So just click OK.
Yeah, hello, Bright. Can
Yeah.
you maximize the virtual platform.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
All right. So so there's some plugins that I already have to update. So let me just ignore this for now. So basically, you're now coming to set up your environment, the Android Studio environment. So you can click on next. You select the standard. Then you can choose your theme. It's evening, so let's go with dark mode. So basically, these are what it's going to download. So the total download of 1.7 gig is going to download the Android emulator for you, the build to then the SDK platform, and some other things that it needs. All right, that's look okay. So this, I think this will probably take some time, but I'm sure my internet is a little strong. Now it can finish before then. But as this installs, we can move to the Flutter SDK. It's still copying. Okay, I think this should, wow, 30 seconds. Okay. So I'm going back to the installation documentation for Windows. So basically, this is, should I say, the basic requirements or the minimum requirements. So Windows 7, 32 bits or 64 bits, disk space of 1.6 gig, but it doesn't include Android Studio and Co. So you probably have to get more than this. Then sorry, yeah. So then PowerShell or CMD, or you can also use Git for Windows. Yeah. So it's kind of, you download it, you extract it into a folder. So this is an example into the C. So this is an example. Or you can choose to just clone it directly. Then you have to, this is very important, you have to update your environment path or your environment variables using the path of Flutter SDK. Yeah, so I think at first the Flutter and Dart were actually separated. So I think previously you have to install that separately, then you install Flutter. But now they've added the Dart SDK also into Flutter at once. So basically, as you are installing Flutter, you basically you're installing that. But if you want to do more of that outside Flutter, you can always go to that website. That's that.dev. and then you can go to them, get that, and there are various instructions for you to follow to basically install that. You need the Chocolate package manager for that. That's for Windows. Yeah. For Linux, you can just get at apt-get. For Mac, Homebrew. Yeah, so that's outside Flutter. Yeah, so basically, there's something we have called the Flutter Doctor. So Flutter Doctor is basically a very tiny utility or service that goes to check your Flutter environment setup, whether you have Android Studio installed, whether you have the Android SDK installed, basically whether you have like whether everything is working all right. So if there's a problem with any setup, it will indicate that okay, there's a problem here, so you probably have to fix it. So that's what this basically to this for. You for sure will be running it to confirm whether everything is done. Okay, this is almost done. I think the copying is done. Yeah. So I will just open the Flutter SDK and I'll run this batch file. That's the Flutter console. So basically, it's just telling you what to do. As I said, you have to add it to your environment path so that you can be able to use the Flutter command like anywhere on your machine and other stuff. So I think right now we have to wait for the Android SDK to finish. But in that case, we can just add a Flutter environment to our Flutter path to our environment variables. Or I think that let me just yeah. So this, then you go to environment variable. I can add it to my user. So I mean, if you add it to my user, it means that if I have another user, that user wouldn't have access to the Flutter SDK. Oh yeah. So I'll just add it to. Oh yeah, you let me. Yeah, I'll just let me just add it to the system path. So I think it's edit. Right. So, yeah. Let's get it path. So developments, yeah. Over here, being. So this is the main. This is a batch file that's going to trigger Flutter. So we need the path through it, which is this. I think you should copy. Or should I? Let me just try and add it to. Yeah. So to separate each part, as you can see here, you use the semicolon. So semicolon, then you add your part. Then you click OK. I mean, you can choose to add it to the system environment too. The same way I did for the user one. You just click OK. Then that's it. So we'll just wait for this. But in that case, let me see if I can get PowerShell. Okay, let's see. Well, so let's see. Okay, so it's able to, because we've added it to our environment variable, it's able to detect the Flutter SDK. So it's currently running a Flutter pub get. So if there are any packages that it needs to get or it needs to download, it's doing that. It's done. And so basically, it's a summary. So as you can see, doctor summary. So Flutter, the channel is stable, as I said. So we are using a stable channel running on Windows, Microsoft Windows, Android toolchain, developed for Android devices. So basically, it has detected, I think, this. Okay. So because the installation is done, I'm using a virtual environment. That's why this is not installing. So yeah, it's done for now. Yeah, so because we haven't accepted, as you can see, Android license not accepted. To resolve this, run flutter doctor hyphen Android license. So basically, this one issue we have to fix. It's saying that we don't have Chrome. Yeah, as you can see, I don't have Chrome on my machine, so it's going to find Chrome. It was able to detect Android Studio. It was able to detect VS Code and no device connected. So for us to fix this, since say that we should run this command. Let me just type it. Accra. So this is basically going to ask some number of questions and stuff. And just so I mean you can choose to read this. Well, I mean who read this anyway? Yeah, so just accept, accept. So the yes is basically accept. So it's done. Let me run the Flutter again. Okay, so now the Android one is checked, but I don't have Chrome, so I don't think I want to install Chrome. Oh, let's see how it goes. Let me see. Let's see the time. Okay. Oh, I think we have some few minutes more. Um, so that as Chrome downloads. Yeah. So to run through the process again, we've downloaded the SDK. We've extracted it into a folder, into a folder call development. So our Flutter SDK is here. And then what again? Then we also updated our environment path by adding the Flutter SDK to our environment path. Yeah, so basically that's it. We've run Flutter Doctor to check whether there are any issues, and we fix the issue with the Android license. Yeah, so I think we are on track. There's one more step. Okay, Chrome is now installed. So let me just close this. So one more time. Let me just run Flutter Doctor one more time first to everything is okay. The only thing will be the device, since we don't have any device connected to the laptop currently. So you can see now everything is checked correct. So yeah, so okay, we have one device which is the Chrome. So as I said, because the stable channel, the Flutter Web, it uses Chrome as its development device. It has detected it as one available device. So right now we have all checks, which means everything is working well. Every setup is like has been done, except one more step, which is adding yes, adding the Flutter plugin to VS Code. So this is VS Code. I'll go to this icon over here, extensions. So I'll just over here search for Flutter. Okay, here Flutter. Then I'll install it. It will ask me whether I want to also install that, because it has to also install that with it. But okay, yeah. So this didn't ask me. I know for on Mac it will probably ask you that it wants to also install that. So basically, it is installing. But usually with development, I usually have some other extensions that help me work faster. So one is app assist. Okay. So okay, so yeah, this is it. That's spec assist. So basically, with this, to add a new plugin to your Flutter project, you don't really have to go to the web to go and copy the plugin in the version and come and paste it. You can just basically do everything without leaving your VS Code. So I also like using it a lot. And I also have so is this to do tree. It helps me know, let's say, for example, I'm coding something, there's a feature that I have to implement, right? And I don't want to do that here. Maybe I have to finish something before I get back to it. So I just add a to do comment to it, and so that later on, if I'm looking for that particular to do, I can easily just go to each icon and to show me where I have to fix that. So something like this, it. So when you click on this, it will just show you where you added it to do, and you can easily go back to it. So let me just check whether it's done. Yeah, so it's done. If you check, you realize that that has also been installed. Yeah, so you see that has also been installed. There are some other plugins, but I think in our next sessions we'll install some of that. So for Android Studio, yeah. So we'll basically do that. Then we'll just create our starter project. So with Android Studio, you can basically go to configure, go to plugins. So basically selecting the market, you can see search for Flutter. Then you can just click install it. Okay, just accept. So say I can see you say the Flutter plugin requires that to be installed. So when you click install, it will install the two Flutter and Dart at the same time. So basically we can. So we should restart. Okay, so we have this. Yeah. So as you can see now, we have this option here: create new Flutter project. But with that, we also need to. So there's some setup which we also have to do. You probably have to select some of this. For example, this needs to be updated. You need this. This is auto. This is Android for car. This. This. So basically, these are Google libraries or Google plugins which you need for the Android side of Flutter. So you need all this, so you can basically install it. It will take time, so I want to do that. So now to create a new project with Android Studio, right? You just click on the create new Flutter project, and there are 4 options here. We have the Flutter application, Flutter plugin, Flutter package, and Flutter model. So Flutter application is basically your app, your Flutter app that you are creating, right? Your to-do list app or whatever app that you're creating. The Flutter plugin is you are creating a custom plugin for your Flutter application, and this plugin makes use of the Android iOS, web or desktop native connections on native code. So as you can see, it's used to expose Android or iOS APIs to developers. So let's say with the camera example that I gave earlier on, if you want to now create a camera app plugin for Flutter, this is an option that you will use. So this will basically create an additional folder, your Android, iOS, web, and desktop, like additional folders for you, which you can use to basically write your native code, and using platform channel, then you call your code in Flutter or in Dart. So the Flutter package is, so this is pure Dart package. So this package doesn't rely on any native code. It uses pure Dart. So this package by default, it will run on all like platform, since it doesn't have any native dependency. Now, Flutter model is basically let's say you've created a Flutter application, right? But as a model, which is that you want to add it to your native Android app or iOS app. So when I think this company, Alibaba, they did something like that. So with the with their app, some parts was Flutter, some parts was native Android. So at some instance, you're actually looking at a Flutter UI, and at some instance, you're looking at a native Android UI. And this is what they basically used to achieve that, the Flutter model. So since we are creating a Flutter application, we'll select the application, then we'll click on next. So you need to select a name, and your name has to be all lowercase, without space. So I think, yeah, that app. And so with this, it wants the path for the our Flutter SDK. I think it still hasn't detected it, so we can easily add it. So it's C development Flutter and the bin. So I think it's now okay. The location, yeah, we can leave it here. What's not? So SDK no found. Well, okay. So without the bin, I think. Yeah, so now this is your package name. So the package name is basically a unique identifier for your app, right? So you can't use an existing package name. For example, if the previous app is for you, yet you can use the same existing package name and deploy it to that same project on a Play Store or App Store. But if it's a new like app altogether, you need to have a custom package name. So usually it's advised to use your website in an invented manner. So something like, so mine is etornam.dev, right? So over here, I'm just going to try dev dot. Then with the platform channel language, I'm saying that I want my Android site to be Kotlin. So this can be either Java or Objective-C. But here I want it Kotlin and Swift. So you can easily select check or uncheck these options. Then click on finish. Just wait for the Flutter wizard to create your application for you. So yeah, it has done creating a template. I think yeah, we didn't update our Kotlin plugin, so it's causing us an error here. But basically, so this is it. This is the default Flutter template or code that you see when you create a new project. So this is how to create it using Android Studio. We will do the same thing using VS Code. So VS. So with VS Code, you will go to View, Command Palette, or you can easily use the shortcut that's Control Shift P. Or you can just go here. Then when you search through type Flutter, you see the option. So new Flutter project, new model, new package, new plugin, run Flutter Doctor, run Flutter upgrade. So since we want an application, we'll click on this. Then it's asking us where to save our project. So okay. Let me just put this on the desktop. So now it's asking us for the project name. As I said, lowercase, no space. So let me just say another. So see, with this particular one, it doesn't ask you for your package ID, the language that you want to use. So as you can see, it's using default or preset settings. So if you like to change this, you can easily go to settings over here and look for Flutter. Yeah. With this, you can easily get access to the various settings. So it's somewhere, yeah. So over here, so you can choose the default native Android native language for it to use, whether Java or Kotlin or Swift or Objective-C. And you can also define the organization. So basically, your how you should create the package ID, right? So I can say etornam.dev. So the next time it is creating, it won't use the default value. It will use this and just okay. So I have to invert it over here. So but so it will use this to create the package ID. So basically that's it for those settings. And as you can see, it's the same template basically generated. So for us to run this, since I haven't set up my emulator, I can't run this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically run it in my Mac rather to save time, since installing the things for the emulator will take some time. So let me quickly create a new project. So as I can see, I can use so I always save my files in a particular project folder. So arc. So we have this. Then okay. So as you can see, it's all done. Just wait for this to finish. Okay, so right now we don't have no device, so there's no device here. So if I want to run it, I can easily click on the run and debug option over here. It's the same thing also in Windows. It's over here, run and debug. Right here, yeah. So I can just click on it. So right now we don't have, I haven't started any device, so it's asking me whether which device I want to start. So I'm selecting my simulator. That's for iOS. I think I have to make this a little big. So as you can see, it's launching, it's running the build. Yeah, so one thing is, when you are running Windows or Linux, right, you can't build for iOS. You can code for it, but you can't build for it, because before you can build an iOS app, you need the iOS SDK, which is inside Xcode, right? And Xcode doesn't run on any other platform except Mac. So because of this, the code that you are writing that is running on Android it can also run on iOS, but just that because you are using Windows or Linux or Chrome OS, it wouldn't you won't be able to build it, or you need to see it to run on iOS on your PC. But for example, when you give the code to someone who uses Mac, the person can be able to run it on their Mac machine with the simulator. Okay, so I think yes, I think that it's almost time. So I will quickly explain some of these settings at the top here. So over here we have the pause. So basically, when you click on this, you're basically pausing the process, the run process, right? You can just click on it to continue. Then you have the hot reload. So this is the feature that anything you change, as you can see, I've changed this from blue to red, right? When when I click on this thunder icon, as you can see, like it changed without me having to rerun the whole app again. So that's hot reload. Then we have the hot restart. So the hot restart is basically me restarting the application. So as you can see, it has done it's done restarting. Then we have the stop and also the inspect. So you want to open your if you want to inspect the various plugins, the various UI or widgets or what they are doing, you can easily click on the inspect. So this is it. This is our default application that's created with Flutter. I mean, you can always change color without you even losing the data. So with the hot reload, as you can see, the color just changed, but our value wasn't affected. Unlike other platforms that you have to basically stop the app and rerun it again. Yeah. So basically this is it. We'll work on this project. So we basically modify this project to what we want with our UI. That's this in our next lesson. So that's next Sunday. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So if there's any question, if there's any question, you can easily ask. So now I'll try and answer. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much. If
Welcome.
anyone have any question, just feel free. Let me turn on my camera. Yeah, awesome. All right. So if anyone have any question, just feel free to drop in the comments for Bright or Etornam to check and then reply you back. But without any question, you can still reach him out on his Twitter handle. You see it up there at underscore I am Etornam. So you can reach him out on Twitter as well. You can reach any of us on Twitter, and we'll always get in touch with you. Yeah, so he has started. This is just the beginning, and next week Sunday he will be here again with us to build something wonderful with us. Yeah, so without any further questions, right, Etonam, thank you very much for the
Thank you
opportunity
too.
to us tonight. We would like to see you, I mean, the same time next week for,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, for another awesome session. Yeah. So,
Bye.
yeah, I think there is a question here from
Okay.
Facebook. Yes, there's a question from Kwame Ofosu from Facebook. He said, how does one develop a multiple page mobile app, please? Multiple page mobile app, please. You mean layers? I think you mean the layers up. I don't know.
No,
Check
okay.
it.
So I think if I understand you, so currently what the example you saw was just a one page basically. Yeah, it was just a page with a button. When you click on it, it increases the number,
Oh,
right? But if you want to create something that has more pages, something like Facebook, right? So Facebook, you log in. There's a page that you log in. There's the page that takes you to your home. There's the page that takes you to your profile. So
yeah.
like, so if that's what you mean, right? I mean, it can be easily done in Flutter, right? So you have your route. So when you create a page, you have to create a route for it, just like in your something like web development. You have to create a route for it, or even if it's native Android, you have to create an intent for it. So when you tap on something like a button or something, it starts that intent. So with Flutter to you have to create a route, and on the top of a button or a link or anything, you basically triggering that screen to open. So that can be easily done in Flutter. And I think I will try and add it to the next session. So
Okay.
instead of us having just one screen, maybe with the icons at the top, I can create a drawer that when you click on it, it will just show an about of the app or something, so that you can see how the multiple um, pages or
Oh, okay.
screens thing working mobile
Okay, so
device.
Kwame Ofosu, so as he said, yes. So this will be yes. He said the app with splash screen login page. Yes. So as he explained, the same way he explained the pages or the layers, we have the splash screen login page and the others as well. Yes. So he will try his hands on this as well. He will do it with us. So keep in touch. Next week he's going to do this so that I hope Etornam, you're going to do something like that for them to
Yeah, yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So next week he's going to do something awesome for us to see on that. Yes, please. Which state management? Okay, I think I have another question on the screen.
Oh, okay. With state management, right? The the shortest answer is go with whatever you are comfortable with, right? Because there's no one bullet to kill it all. Like all of them have their pros and cons. All of them they are bringing something on board, right? So um, I'll say it's difficult to say that okay, this is better than this, right? Because there are some projects that you use provider, and there are some that you want to use block, or you want to use Riverpod, or even Redux. So like it's like you have to basically experiment by yourself, or even if you're working in a company, right? Whatever they've decided or whatever they've selected is what probably you have to go with. But if you think maybe what they've selected wouldn't help much, then you can also present your case to them. Okay, I've tried this one, and I think it will be better with this project. But there's no one state management that I would say that is the best. I mean, they are all doing awesome jobs. You can use all of them for their project. But for me personally, on a personal level, I use provider a lot, and so I use provider with get it and change notifier, or I just use get it, which is for code or service ingestion, service locator. It's a service locator, I would say. So sometimes I use get it and just change notifier. I don't use any of the other state management. And change notifier is inbuilt. It's just like state notifier. So they are inbuilt in Flutter. So sometimes if I don't want to go a particular state management way, I just go with that. If you look at my Tasky open source, I'm using get it and change notifier. That's it. I'm not using any other, so that people can be confident, like anyone at all can easily contribute to that project. So um, on a personal level, I use provider a lot and get it. Yeah, but I mean anything that you're comfortable with, you should go with it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Alfred. Yes, and with Kwame Ofosu, yes, the video is going to be available here. We are not going to delete it. It's going to be available on our Facebook platform. It will be available as well on our YouTube channel. So I'm replying you now. Yes, you're on Facebook. Yes, so I've seen that. I'm replying you on Facebook right now with the link. Then also the video. Yeah, so the video will be available there. That's the YouTube platform. So make sure you RSVP the event. Okay, so when you RSVP the event, you will always get notification when we are about to start the event, or you just visit the YouTube handle. Make sure you subscribe, then you just hit the bell so you get notified when we start or we go live. And make sure you set reminders on our videos when we upload. We start to set the live upload. Yeah. So thank you once again, Etornam, and thank you
Oh,
guys
thank
once
you, sir.
again for joining GDG Accra. We always ready to give you the best. If you want to learn any Google product or Google language or tools, anything at all, you just hit into our DM and you just let us know. We'll pick it up from there and we'll see how to handle it. Yeah, so thank you guys and have a good and a wonderful night. See you all next week. Same time we started 7 p.m. next week with Etornam, right? Bye from us all.